5. I was living in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was walking down the street and I was outside a used bookstore, and they had a box of free books. Inside the box, there was this gorgeous set of early 60s encyclopedias. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with them, but it seemed sad that this beautiful thing could be in a parking lot. And so I took them home, and they sat on my shelves for years. And then I started seeing online people doing all of these upcycling and taking old things and making them new in some way. And so I thought I'd kind of try my hand at doing something with these old books. It's hard to describe what I do, because when I say to people, I carve books, they say, oh, what does that mean? If I say I make sculptures out of books, people think that I pile them up and make towers out of them or something. And so the way that I often describe it is I say, I take books and I cut into them and I take out most of the pages so you can just see the pictures. This is just gorgeous. Sometimes old cookbooks have really fun illustrations of exactly the best way to make a pie crust from hand. So these are fun if you're showing each of the little steps that's involved. I live in Northfield, Minnesota, and one of the places I like to go to find the books for my carvings is the antique store on Division Street in downtown Northfield. They have a big range of different kinds of books, and so it's very fun to go in there and paw through and look for old cookbooks and reference books and dictionaries. They have a nice selection. So one of the things I'm looking at is just that they're thick enough. So even if a book is lovely, if it's really skinny, there's just not much I can do with it. So my eye's being caught by these nice thick ones here. So when I'm looking at books and thinking about carving them, I have a couple of rules that I use. Because some people are uncomfortable about the idea of cutting up books under any circumstances, I want to be really careful that when I do cut them up, I'm only using books that people aren't likely to use for other purposes. So the rules are that they have to cost me less than $10, and I use that kind of as an indication that these aren't valuable, rare, antique books. I don't ever carve fiction or poetry because I also really prefer to use books that are kind of out of date. So my favorite subjects are science books and reference books that are updated every couple of years. And then when I start looking, it's a question of whether they have any illustrations and if they're drawn or if they're pictures. I really prefer to work with drawings because they have really fine edges that you can work with, whereas with photographs, it's somewhat harder to get those really nice crisp lines that I like. I am working as a cognitive psychologist. I teach at Carleton College. I spend most of my time looking at scientific illustrations and science reference books for the work that I do. And so it's fun to look at a similar kind of information, but to look at it because it's beautiful, not because of the information that it has. I like to have a couple of different books going at once. So now I have kind of 3 that are in various stages that I'm working on. This one I've already carved through and left in all the pieces I really like. And now I'm just kind of adding in some more pages from the same book that may not have been exactly in the place that I'm putting, just to kind of fill them in. And then this one, I'm going through page by page until I find a picture that's in a place that I like and cutting around that. So this one I've just started. I'm only up to the BRs, so I've got a long way to go. And this one is going to be more of a specimen box type. And in those, I'll generally just leave the very edges of the pages and then display something from the book inside it. I've tried out a number of different styles, and the topographical ones are fun. And what I'll do for those is I'll find a map that shows topography of a specific region, and then I'll choose a piece of it that has really an interesting geography, and then I'll try to replicate that in the book. love books. I've always been a big reader. Growing up, my parents always had lots of books around. And so I've kind of had a thing for books for a long time before I ever started working with them in art. And so one of the things that's so fun about carving is that you get to have this physical result at the end. You say, look, I made this and I can hold it in my hands. So that is a really satisfying process for me. What I really hope to do with my work is to make people look a second time at something that they're used to looking at and just looking over. And what I think is really fun about carving books and doing this kind of upcycling work is that it takes an object that is boring and it makes it fun.